Part 2.
As if he had been the drummer at the head of a procession, or the elephant leading a menagerie into town. Boys of his own size pretended not to know he had been away at all, but they were consuming with envy nevertheless. They would have given anything to have that swarthy, sun-tanned skin of his and his glittering notoriety, and Tom would not have parted with either for a circus.
14 minutes.
How much?
14 minutes.
Okay. At school, the children made so much of him and of Joe, and delivered such eloquent admiration from their eyes, that the two heroes were not long in becoming insufferably stuck up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep going, because you can perform surgery. She can help me. So we're just going to keep going.
Okay.
Where'd I stop?
Stuck up. They began to tell.
I said stuck up?
Yeah.
Okay. They began to tell their adventures to hungry listeners, but they only began. It was not a thing likely to have an end, with imaginations like theirs to furnish material. And finally, when they got out their pipes and went serenely puffing around, the very summit of glory was reached. Tom decided that he could be independent of Becky Thatcher now. Glory was sufficient. He would live for glory. Now that he was distinguished, maybe she would be wanting to make up. Well, let her. She would see that he could be as indifferent as some other people. Presently she arrived. Tom pretended not to see her. He moved away and joined a group of boys and girls and began to talk. Soon he observed that she was tripping gaily back and forth with flushed face and dancing eyes, pretending to be busy chasing schoolmates and screaming with laughter when she made a capture, but he noticed that she always made her captures in his vicinity, and that she seemed to cast a conscience. Back's too hurting. Back's too hurting. Or am I stinky?
No. This is my back.
Conscious eye in his direction at such times, too. Oh, I'm getting a headache. It gratified all the vicious vanity that was in him, and so instead of winning him, it only set him up the more and made him the more diligent to avoid betraying that he knew she was about. Presently she gave over skylarking and moved irresolutely about, sighing once or twice and glancing fervently and wistfully, more particularly to Amy Lawrence than to anyone else. She felt a sharp pang and grew disturbed and uneasy at once. She tried to go away, but her feet were treacherous and carried her to the group instead. She said to a girl almost at Tom's elbow with sham vivacity, "Why, Mary Austin, you bad girl, why didn't you come to Sunday school?" "I did come. Didn't you see me?" "Why, no. Did you? Where'd you sit?" "I was in Miss Peters' class, where I always go. I saw you." "Did you? Well, it's funny I didn't see you. I wanted to tell you about the picnic." "Oh, that's jolly. Who's going to give it?" "Oh, Ma's going to let me have one." "Oh, goody, I hope she'll let me come." "Well, she will. The picnic's for me. She'll let anybody come that I want, and I want you." "That's ever so nice. When's it going to be?" "By and by. Maybe about vacation." "Oh, won't it be fun? You going to have all the girls and boys?" "Yes, everyone that's friends with me or want to be." And she glanced over so fervently at Tom, but he talked right along to Amy Lawrence about the terrible storm on the island and how the lightning tore the great sycamore tree all to flinders while he was standing within 3 feet of it. "Oh, may I come?" said Gracie Miller. "Yeah." "And me?" said Sally Rogers. "Yes." "And me too," said Susie Harper. "And Joe?" "Yes." And so on with clapping of joyful hands till all the group had begged for invitations but Tom and Amy. Then Tom turned coolly away, still talking, and took Amy with him. Becky's lips trembled and the tears came to her eyes. She hid these signs with a forced gaiety and went on chattering. But the life had gone out of the picnic now and out of everything else. She got away as soon as she could and hid herself. What is it?
I don't know.
A little cootie ran across the page. It wasn't a roach.
Yeah.
Those little book cooties. Took Amy with him. Becky's lips trembled to have said that. But the life had gone out of the picnic now and out of everything else. She got away as soon as she could and hid herself and had what her sex call a good cry. And then she sat moody with wounded pride till the bell rang. She roused up now with a vindictive cast in her eye and gave her plaited tails a shake and said she knew what she'd do. At recess, Tom continued his flirtation with Amy with jubilant self-satisfaction, and he kept drifting about to find Becky and lacerate her with the performance. At last he spied her, but there was a sudden falling of his mercury. She was sitting cozily on a little bench behind the schoolhouse looking at a picture book with Alfred Temple, and so absorbed were they, and their heads so close together over the book, that they did not seem to be conscious of anything in the world besides. Jealousy ran red hot through Tom's veins. He began to hate himself for throwing away the chance Becky had offered for a reconciliation. He called himself a fool and all the hard names he could think of. He wanted to cry with vexation. Amy chatted happily along as they walked, for her heart was singing, but Tom's tongue had lost its function. He did not hear what Amy was saying, and whenever she paused expectantly, he could only stammer an awkward assent, which was as often misplaced as otherwise. He kept drifting to the rear of the schoolhouse. It's nice to have a page turner and somebody to keep up. I love my baby. My big baby. She's in middle school, my baby is. What grade you gonna be in? 7th? Oh, no. Again and again, to sear his eyeballs with the hateful spectacle there, he could not help it, and it maddened him to see, as he thought he saw, that Becky Thatcher never once suspected that he was even in the land of the living. But she did see, nevertheless, and she knew she was winning her fight to come over this way so they can see you. Now. Where am I? Winning her fight, glad to see him suffer as she had suffered. Amy's happy prattle became intolerant. Tom hinted at things. It was my breast tank. Tom hinted at things he had to attend to, things that must be done, and time was fleeting, but in vain the girl chirped on. Is that hurting your back, though? Tom thought, oh, hang her, ain't I ever going to get rid of her? At last he must be attending to those things, and she said artlessly that she would be around when school let out, and he hastened away, hating her for it. Any other boy, Tom thought, grating his teeth. Any boy in the whole town but that St. Louis smarty that thinks he dresses so fine in his aristocracy. Oh, all right, I'll lick you the first day you ever saw this town, mister, and I'll lick you again. You just wait till I catch you. I'll just take and he went through the motions of thrashing an imaginary boy, pummeling the air and kicking and gouging. Oh, you do you? You holler enough, do you? Now then let that learn you. And so the imaginary flogging was finished to his satisfaction. Tom fled home at noon. His conscience could not endure any more of Amy's grateful happiness, and his jealousy could bear no more of the other distress. Becky resumed her picture inspections with Alfred, but as the minutes dragged along and no Tom came to suffer, her triumph began to cloud and she lost interest. Gravity and absent-mindedness followed, and then melancholy. 2 or 3 times she pricked up her ears at a footstep, but it was a false hope. No Tom came. At last she grew entirely miserable and wished she hadn't carried it so far. When poor Alfred seen that he was losing her, did I read that right? He did not know how, kept exclaiming, "Oh, here's a jolly one, look at this." She lost patience at last and said, "Oh, don't bother me, I don't care for them," and burst into tears and got up and walked away. I bet he was thinking, what in the world? Alfred dropped alongside and was going to try to comfort her, but she said, "Go away and leave me alone, can't you? I hate you." So the boy halted, wondering what he could have done, for she had said she would look at pictures all through the nooning, and she walked on crying. Then Alfred went musing into the deserted schoolhouse. He was humiliated and angry. He easily guessed his way to the truth. The girl had simply made a convenience of him to vent her spite upon Tom Sawyer. He was far from hating Tom the less when this thought occurred to him. He wished there was some way to get that boy into trouble without much risk to himself. Tom's spelling book fell under his eye. Here was his opportunity. He gratefully opened to the lesson for the afternoon and poured ink upon the page. Becky, glancing in at the window behind him at the moment, saw the act and moved on without discovering herself. She started homeward now, intending to find Tom and tell him. Tom would be thankful and their troubles would be healed. Before she was halfway home, however, she had changed her mind. The thought of Tom's treatment of her when she was talking about her picnic came scorching back and filled her with shame. She resolved to let him get whipped on the damaged spelling book's account and to hate him forever into the bargain. And that is that. Chapter 19 is called Tom Tells the Truth. Well, that'll be something new, won't it? Thanks, guys. And since my granddaughter's here.
My brain is here.
You're my brain. She'll be able to hopefully get this all up. If not, we'll chop it in two, but she won't lose the second half like I do. We hope.
Yep.
I love her. And
I love her too.
And her little sissy. And her mama. And her daddy. She's special.
What?
I said you're special. Yeah. Bye, y'all. Bye. Be sweet. And don't be
Ugly.
She watches.